The cows have all gone home. The shape of things to come. The truth has not been told, 'cause it don't fold. The cows are making love. They'll leave when they are done. They're sleeping on the ground without a sound. I wanna wake up and never dream. I wanna read out the memories left in the rain and the winter road. Don't let me exit the afterglow. The sheep are styrofoam. They go where they are told. They'll eat what they are sold, 'cause they don't know. I wanna wake up and never dream. I wanna leave out the memory left in the rain and it won't corrode. Don't make me exit the afterglow. The cows have all gone home. Shape of things to come. Collectively all one. They will all run. I wanna wake up and never dream. I wanna leave out the memories left in the rain and they won't corrode. Don't make me exit the afterglow. That's The Truth About Cows by Shiner. I'm going to tell you the more of the truth about cows by me, a person who knows nothing professional about cows. I don't know any cow biology. I don't know any cow history. I don't know anything about farming or owning cows. Haven't spent a lot of personal time around cows. But I like cows. I like to look at cows. I see a lot of cows. And I think about cows. My perspective on cows could be very off. But I like to think that I've got at least a little bit of a point about cows. Do I know about cow tools? I know about those things that they rub themselves on to scratch. You know, they got those big like rotary things that they'll like, it's like looks like something you would find in a car wash. They use it to like scratch their neck. I see that on the cow TikTok videos, you know, the cow shorts on YouTube. There's people who raise cows and make videos of content about it, so, you know, I like that type of cow content. But mostly I think about cows because I see them as I'm out and about, as I'm traveling, and I think about the state of the cows, particularly in the United States. I don't really know how it is to be a cow anywhere other than the US, but I know about cow life here. And I think the basic premise of what I'm going to argue here is that cows have about the same living standard and purpose as humans do to U.S. society. Some kind of bug just landed on me and I definitely gored it. I probably should have put on some heavy bug spray before I came out here wearing sleeveless shirt. That thing went straight for my shoulder the second it saw me. Anyway, You know, that's what I get for it's really it's my fault that thing died. I came into its territory. It just simply saw easy blood. But you would think if something unfamiliar approached you, you would stay away from it rather than dive bomb it at full speed immediately. You know, kind of a dumb bug. When it comes to cows and when it comes to people, I think I don't think we would exist in this country if we weren't being allowed to. Like, so something I've thought about a lot as I travel, there's a lot less animals in America than I like expected. The sheeple argument, but with cows, no, it's not quite the same. I mean, sure, people are like sheep, but what does that mean? Like when people call someone like sheeple, I don't know, it seems like they're just saying, hey, you're like you know, herded. You're just being herded around or whatever. I'm not just talking about being herded. Cows have a will of their own. Cows have it well in America. Humans have it well in America. Cows have it better in America than humans have it in most of the world. And a lot of American cows have it better than a lot of American cows have it. So I look at cows and like, so we think of cows, right, as mostly food and beverage. They provide a milk and meat. That's the main thing that humans use cows for. Now, obviously, vegans, vegetarians, they would be like, well, cows should just be allowed to exist without having to be meat. And I just think the fact of the matter is they wouldn't. They would already be gone. Now, I'm not saying it's too late to decide that we want to keep cows around just as like a humanitarian, you know, except it's not towards humans, cow-manitarian. If we wanted like a cow-manitarian practice of deciding that, you know, we're going to protect cows just because they're adorable and we want them to go on, that's one thing. But I just think that cows wouldn't be around anymore. We would have already exterminated them into extinction. And I think this because there are basically not wild animals in America, except for the ones that we allow to exist, because we want to like study them or, you know, make sure that we don't totally destroy the ecosystem in ways that we don't really understand, you know. Science has taught us a lot about how easy it is to fuck things up for ourselves, where we think we're doing something right and not understanding the ramifications of what's going to happen somewhere else in the ecology. And so we've come to a point of trying to preserve things as best we can so we can understand them. Now, this doesn't mean that if we understood that we wouldn't still, like, I've heard science claiming that we could, theoretically, annihilate all mosquitoes from planet Earth with no negative effects. I've heard this. I have heard this. And if it's true, I want us to do it. Mosquitoes suck. I see no reason to preserve their existence if we think that they are a net negative to the world. Now, granted, I can't imagine that there wouldn't be some kind of butterfly effect of eliminating all mosquitoes from reality, that it wouldn't, you know, generate super spiders or so. I don't know. What do mosquitoes keep in check? I mean, if theoretically eliminating them doesn't change enough for it to be a problem, if science really thinks that that's the case, I'm all for it. Just do it. Just pull the trigger. Mosquitoes suck, you know. So I would be on the side of ridiculous, chaotic science in that case, if they're even somewhat convinced that they could just eliminate all mosquitoes. But my point is, the main reason we don't recklessly eliminate species we don't like anymore is that we've dealt with the effects of it and been able to study those effects and realize the problems we've caused for ourselves. It's also that humans we were just not capable of the level of killing that we have been for the last 500 years before we had like guns and, you know, the more advanced weaponry that we've invented since gunpowder. So like we would have cleared out some species a lot earlier, you know. And obviously extinction happens naturally as well, but if you know the story of the American red sparrows, we literally drove them to extinction. If you know about the dodo, famously driven to extinction, the grizzly bear is the one that strikes me the most, because the grizzly bear was just considered too dangerous to let live if we wanted to expand westward. So like in order to build civilization in Washington State and Oregon and, you know, just that whole western expansion area up north particularly, we just literally systematically annihilated all grizzly bears that we found as a human race. There are, I don't think they're extinct, but I don't think there's any wild, unchecked, like, I mean, there could be, theoretically. There's parts of America that, like, people aren't exploring all the time and keeping tabs on, where maybe there could be a grizzly bear. But, like, you know, human beings annihilated a bunch of whole species, and I think we would have done this to cows already, if not for the fact that cows are tame and compliant and conservative creatures that you can keep on farms, and they taste really good. And like, there's tons of other animals that taste good, and some people like ranching them because it's like a special interest thing. And if you've eaten meat from a bunch of different, like, you know, you've eaten non-cow burgers, you might ask yourself, like, huh, why don't more people eat, like, I don't know, elk meat or whatever? Like, and the answer is just they're not easy to raise, they're not easy to farm, you know, they're a pain in the ass. And like, the fact of the matter is that elk or deer, any of those species, like when they do get to a certain level of population, we consider them as pests, and we just, you know, open season on them and start annihilating them because they start destroying other factors of the environment that we also prize over the goddamn elk. And, you know, these large creatures, they are competitive with us. They eat amounts that stump human beings, you know, like, so it's fascinating to think that like I think that the argument from like a humanitarian angle or a cow humanitarian angle of preserve the cows because we like them, it might be possible now, but we wouldn't be able to keep them in the numbers we have them. Like, so many cows would just immediately, like, imagine if we turned all cows loose, like the amount of chaos it would cause, the amount of cows that wouldn't know what to do, you know, that would not know how to adapt to life in the wild. Like, you would have to go out of your way to raise a generation of wild cows to truly reintroduce the concept of cows. And then again, you don't know what the far-reaching consequences of that would be. So, like, I really do think that cows, like, their existence today is so dependent on the fact that we eat them. It's hard to imagine, like it's hard to imagine the level that you'd have to restructure society at to make cows like a wild animal that isn't just going to go extinct overnight, you know, like a protected species that is allowed to exist in the wild and isn't going to immediately be annihilated to a fraction of its population just by the nature of what happened to every other large mammal that existed in America. You know, that it was anything that was commonplace is now either a farm animal and therefore still commonplace or not commonplace. You know, I know where you can go to find bison in America. There's enclosures. You know, we've kept some of them around, but they don't get to roam free. They don't get to expand their population willy-nilly, you know. So yeah, the truth about cows is that, much like humans in America, they get to exist because the people who have power over them get enough value out of keeping them around, and the fact that they are so easy to placate and corral, and they're so, you know, conservative and conforming, that they preserve their own existence by way. I think it's possible that a lot of cows know they are food and either hate it and live their whole life, you know, dreading it, or are just like, whatever. You know, how much understanding do cows have of their situation? I really don't know. It's really hard to say. They are definitely more human-like than I think most people give them credit for. They are basically big dogs. Like, they are I think they're probably more intelligent than dogs. Equally sentimental, equally breedable to be like a human pet, you know? So to me, eating cows and eating dogs is almost not at all different. It's wild that, like, it's really just a matter of size, right? Like, dogs, people have associations with dogs as something that, like, hunts with them and, like, hangs out with them. Like, because once a cow gets to a certain size, it's hard to just have it as, like, your pal. You know, it spends most of its day eating. Like, a cow is not, it's not something you can have, like, as a hunter or you know, a part of your pack the way a dog is. So humans have a lot more sentiment towards dogs, you know, which is why we don't really try to eat them as much anymore in most of the world. But they're not different from cows. And it's actually, because this has been entering my mind a lot lately, especially because I think cows are fucking adorable. I love to see videos of cute cows. I like plushies of cows. None of this affects my ability to eat cows because, again, I'm quite convinced that they just wouldn't exist if they weren't being eaten. You know, I don't think enough people treat cows like dogs that we would have them around. I mean, maybe they'd be considered an obscure pet, you know, in the same way that a lot of other obscure pets exist. But they're just so big and so costly to uphold. I can't imagine people would broadly keep them around if they weren't livestock, you know? So to me, it almost feels like you're saving the cows when you're eating the cows. And again, there are a lot of cows that live in shitty environments. I mean, I guess it depends which cows you're eating, right? You don't want to prop up the farms that get to keep profiting off of the fact that, you know, you got these super farms where they got like millions of cows in just the tightest little quarters. You'll pass these when you're going up the interstate in like California and Texas especially. Just these fucking just disgusting, like obviously awful places to live. And you think, wow, it must be miserable. That's a miserable existence. Most chickens in America, miserable existence, living in a tiny cage surrounded by other chickens. You know, just a desperate, you know, no control whatsoever, no agency, no sense of self or purpose. I don't think it feels that different to live in, you know, a hyper dense, extremely poor part of America, where you are struggling to survive every single day, where, you know, basically the only reason that your whole community exists is that it generates, you know, the extra pennies in the pockets of, you know, like, it's all economic structure. You need people to exist to pull all the levers and push all the buttons to keep the rich people's operations going, you know? So they want a system that keeps poor people in a place that has some people just on this, you know, bottom rung. And a lot of cows are on that bottom rung too. But proportionally to the amount of cows and the amount of space in the US, I don't think it's that different from human existence, because a lot of cows have it great. A lot of American space is just cow home, pasture, places cows are hanging out, having a good fucking time. A lot of the times they're barely supervised. A lot of the times it's just a fucking mountain covered in cows. I've seen so many beautiful looking cows having a great life in America, and I'm thinking, like, that cow literally lives better than a substantial number of people and cows. But again, it's proportional. Cows have it about as good as people do. A lot of the US land is farms where both people and cows live in a beautiful place doing beautiful shit all day, you know? And and fewer people occupy that space, whereas there's tons of people or tons of cows just clustered into these dense little pockets, living a miserable existence, you know? And I don't think that those pockets need to exist. I think that those creations facilitate the machinations of super corporations and billionaires. Like, who needs that much? Who needs to fuck over cows that badly other than people that are trying to, you know, really min-max profits? Who needs to fuck over people that badly other than people who are really trying to min-max profits, you know? Like, if you were willing to live with less, you would have more to give. That's just always going to be true for everybody. The less you're willing to live with, the more you have available to give. Whether that's money, time, you know, like, the less of it you have to spend on yourself to make yourself happy, the more of it you have available to give to other people. So, if you are somebody who hogs all of the money and all of other people's time, that's the kind of person that creates those systems where people or cows are trapped in like the tiniest little ecosystem, you know? And I think basically in America everybody thinks that they are the shitty cow. Like, they think that they're the cow that's being held down. They think they're the cow in the tiny pen. Except for the people who like know that they're the cow on the pasture because they own the cows on the pasture, you know? I feel like a renegade, runaway cow foraging in random woods, you know? But I'm lucky because, unlike a cow, not only am I treated with human agency, which is the highest agency respected in the society besides rich human agency, also, I don't have to eat that much to live. So it's a huge advantage as a human. Don't have to eat anywhere near as much as cows. Honestly, a big part of why I've been thinking about the food aspect of this is there's this channel, this fucking hilarious YouTube short guy where his gimmick is that he has this cow that he'll have the cow in the house, and it's like him trying to make himself food, and the cow is immediately upon detecting anything edible just laps it up. So, you know, he'll be like trying to spread peanut butter onto a sandwich, and the cow like just immediately takes the bread and eats it, you know? So he knows this is gonna happen, of course, that's the gimmick, but like, it's when you're watching it happen, you're like, man, imagine if you weren't on that cow's side, you know? You'd be like, this cow just ate all of my food, and now it's going to go eat all of my field, you know? Like, I just think cows would be considered as much more of a menace if we weren't literally, you know, totally empowered over them. So I think it's, you know, it's easy to say like, oh, free the cows, let the cows have liberty. But if the cows had liberty, would they make decisions that allowed us to keep them around? You know, would they respect human boundaries? Not that they should, but if they didn't, would they survive it? I doubt it. I doubt it. Now, I have to pee. I'm gonna mute myself and go pee. And if anybody has anything you want me to rant about, send it in a super chat. I am probably going to eventually tie this whole cow rant into lol cows and make this also the truth about lol cows. That's the secret hidden part of this rant. But first I really gotta piss. So I'm gonna leave you next to this weird little house in the woods. Actually, you can just, well, I don't want you to hear me pissing. I am back. What y'all talking about here in Chatland? I don't see one single super chat. What am I gonna rant about? I can't just keep dropping truth bombs all day for free. Alright, we have one now. All it took was the time it took for me to sigh once. Lapusha with Australian $5. Welcome back, and thank you once again. Hi Trixie, having watched your work, it seems you have always been good at citing others. Just want to know your thoughts about plagiarism ranted. Aw man. Plagiarism is so goofy to me. It's crazy that people do it because it is so easy not to. Like, fucking look at a thesaurus, for God's sake. Like, all you gotta do, literally just use some different words. Like, if we are talking about on the level of, like, idea plagiarism, you couldn't possibly trace it. Like, and this is something that Jeff Thu caught me up in once, right? Where I accused him of ripping me off in my big fighting Anitubers video. Shit-talking Anitubers video, whatever. And he was really upset because he was like, if you're accusing me of plagiarism, that's a legal claim and I'm going to take you to court. And I was like, that's not what I'm accusing you of. I'm accusing you of saying ideas that I had not ever seen anyone bring up into the popular consciousness until I did. And I think it's just a matter of, I think it was that at the time, Jeff's assumption is probably that I, like him, am going out and pulling ideas from, you know, around the culture and then presenting them in my videos, which often could be the case. But I had just seen a few times where I had talked about something that to me was like a unique idea I was bringing up, you know. I don't think it was really something I needed to even be that upset about because I just used to be really obsessed with credit. I always felt like I wasn't getting credit for my contribution to culture. So I just wanted more credit. Like, it's not even that I feel like salty that people stole my ideas. I just wanted more recognition, you know, like I want to be as famous, as known for my ideas as possible. So if other people are saying stuff that they heard me say, I want them to say, oh, and I heard this from Trixie, you know, because then that just helps me get more popular. And it's something, like you said, I cite lots of people. That's why I'm doing it. I look at it as a rising tide raises all ships. The more people are looking into my sources, the more those people become like me. The more they invested they get in this world, the more likely they are to be able to contribute something back to me eventually, whether it's that they care about this stuff enough to commit more time and money to it, or they get involved themselves and they enrich the culture in their own ways, you know? And I'm always somebody who's looking to have I'm always trying to keep up with the times, you know. I don't want to fall behind, and like, I think it's hard to understand even when you're young what it means to be capable of falling behind the times. And I'm like now at the age where I get it, because there are certain places where I was always disconnected from the culture of people my age. So I never expected to feel also disconnected from like youth culture in a different way than that. Like, to me, I grew up feeling like, well, you know, I don't relate to youth culture. But like, now that I'm an adult, I can look back on stuff that was youth culture when I was young, and I understand it in a way that I can't understand stuff that's popular with young people now, because I don't know the world they're experiencing. I don't know what it's like to go through like elementary school with the internet. You know, like, I was a very early adopter of the internet. I went through middle school with the internet, but nobody else at school was on the internet. I was like the first middle schooler on the internet, you know, like in 1999. It just wasn't popular with kids my age. So, you know, it's interesting to think like, well, what would it be like to have grown up like that? And, you know, I've called myself a millennial, and to me, the hard line between millennials and Zoomers is how normal it is to be on an internet call. Like, that's my line. Because for me, growing up, like, being even a kid on the internet, you know, I never really jumped into chat rooms or calls because I just knew they were dangerous. I knew they were full of older, seedy people, you know. I was afraid of that world. And people I know who did get into that world, it was in fact dangerous and seedy, as I suspected. So it wasn't until Skype that, like, it became very normal to talk to people on call, you know, to just like call people up from your computer. And by the time Skype was popular, I was like 20. So I was using it to talk to people who I knew from the internet, but I didn't really feel comfortable being in calls. I felt comfortable doing instant messenger. That was normal to me, you know. But my brother Shade, who I consider to be literally first generation, he is the earliest Zoomer you could be. He's born 1997. He is right at the start of Zoomers, you know, having millennial, you know, cusper millennials as older siblings. Really, you know, it's like he's as close to being a millennial as you could be while being definitively a Zoomer. And to me, what makes the difference is Shade grew up talking to his school friends through Skype. Not people he met through the internet, but like friends he knew in middle school. He would just go home and talk to them on Skype. And like for my mom's generation, for Xers, this was very normal to do with phones. Maybe even boomers. Like, people called up their friends all the time, and the cheaper phones have gotten, the more normal it's been to like talk to your friends on the phone. But connecting your personal life and the internet to such an intimate degree, I really think that started with Zoomers. I think they're the first generation who thought that the internet and real life were the same place, you know? And like, I remember that being a revelation to me when I watched, you know, Serial Experiments Lane, and then I went and met people I knew from the internet in real life. So like when it happened, I was like, oh wow, maybe the internet and real life are the same place, you know? And yeah, I think to Zoomers, that's just kind of taken for granted. Also, I don't know if I buy that the Zoomer generation is like over. People keep talking about how, oh, well, you know, kids being born now are Gen Alpha. And I'm like, well, what makes them different? You know, how do we know that kids being born now are going to be substantially different from Zoomers until we see them at least emerge into culture? Like, is there such thing as Gen Alpha culture yet? You know, I don't know how we can say such a thing. To me, there is enough clear difference between millennial, which is like, I really think, I don't think the internet necessarily changed millennial culture so much as accelerated it, you know, because like already the millennial culture was the 24-hour news cycle, the constant television, the endless amount of cable, you know, the TV as your parents. Even Gen Xers had that, you know, the TV was their parents, but the Gen Xer TV was more unified. You know, it was like the 3 channels that everybody knew the same shit. Everybody was raised on the same pop culture. So it was more unification in what pop culture is. I think with millennials, it's like it started getting more and more scattershot, and it became about personal identity. We are the identity generation, you know? And Zoomers have some of that too. But I also think they might have just like a better, you know, better understanding, because they don't have to like fight for it. They're like born into it, you know. They're not as obsessed. But I could be wrong. Give me something else to rant about. I'm just spinning my wheels until I get another super chat here. Maybe this was such a good rant. People are like, wow, I don't want to interrupt, but usually I'm like, wow, nobody's interrupting me. This is a boring thing I'm talking about. What are y'all even talking about in the chat here? Stephen Tracy, what are you on about? Anybody that doesn't type the number 7, we will assume that you got jabbed and triple boosted with the experimental poison. No, nobody's going to assume anything like that. Who are you? Jeff said he was going to sue me. He did, literally on that podcast. If you listen to the 4-hour podcast we did, he was like, you know, if you're accusing me of plagiarism and you don't have specific evidence, that would be considered libel, and I would have to pursue legal action. And I was like, Jeff, I know you do have to do that. Roger Ramos with $5. Thank you very much. Rant about Sam Hyde and Fish Tank, please and thank you. Will do. I am excited about the upcoming Fish Tank All-Stars. What is it called? Is it? It's basically looks like Battle Royale. It's like a Survivor take on, I think, survival games, maybe like a shooting game type thing. I'm not sure exactly what they're going for, but the trailer is fun. If anybody hasn't seen or heard of Fish Tank, you are really truly missing out on like a generational piece of work, something really beyond compare. Well, I guess I shouldn't call it beyond compare. It's a reality TV show. It's like Big Brother, but if it was being done by autistics, but by autistics for autistics, like the most intensely, like, well, if you don't know who, hello, if you don't know who Sam Hyde is, he's basically the most like unhinged comedian on earth. You know, the person who's gone the most all in on, yeah, whatever. Well, I don't know, it's funny. Supposedly he was asked by Adult Swim to make the most racist, like to make his show the most racist show, and he wouldn't to do that. And that's why they fired him. There's a lot of rumors different ways about Sam Hyde. He's sort of the voice of the truly angry white boy. I guess I would describe him as like modern nu metal. Like the same people who, the same kind of like twisted, like definitely molested as a kid, definitely like beat up as a kid, like type of, you know, personality type of like, man, my life is really rugged and fucked and I'm really mad about it. Or people who want that aesthetic. That's the type of people who are like really into Sam Hyde, you know? And he plays that role of like, how do I describe Sam Hyde? He's a guy who really wants to convince someone to have an unsanctioned boxing match with him. Like his dream in life is finding the person who is going to be exactly unhinged enough to fight him unsanctioned on camera, and everybody be chill with it, like it not become a legal issue. That's Sam Hyde's personality. I think that's what he wants most in life, most desperately, is to have somebody who will just literally, but he's such a massive, threatening dude that most people would not want that. Like, who the fuck would want to fight that gigantic man? I see way too much Stephen Tracy in the chat, so this dude's getting banned. Bro, I'm sorry, you cannot just fucking, you can't swamp out the rest of all. Nobody wants to talk because you won't shut the fuck up. So, it's a big problem. For me, who wants the chat and not you, rando guy I've never seen before in chat. I cannot keep up with your fucking schizo rambling. Take that shit somewhere else. God damn. I forgot what I was talking about. I got so mad at that guy because I just kept seeing his name come up in that stupid little purple non-avatar. Get a fucking avatar, dude. Get a personality. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. What was I ranting about? Sam Hyde. God damn, I had totally forgot. Fish Tank. Basically, Sam Hyde and his little boy toy, Jet Neptune, his little protege Funk Doll, little soft baby doll boy, his little Pillsbury Doughman. The two of them made this show. You know, they got some sponsorship from their rad friend Nick Rockefort, who's like a guy who if you ever seen like a 20s gangster cigar munching like car salesman, he's just like playing that archetype as hard as he can. He's like, I'm gonna be the most of a car salesman that the world has ever seen. But he's more focused on real estate because that's, you know, that's man meta right now. So yeah, Fish Tank is where they trap 12 autistic people in a house for 12 weeks and vote them one by one off, while torturing them psychologically in ways that nobody who's right in the head would allow to happen. And you know, it's just it's reality TV without the beauty pageant aspect. There's constant surveillance in all rooms at all times, live streamed. You can pick a room and go there. You know, they do challenges. Sam Hyde, what makes Sam Hyde the most fascinating to me is, and I think this is probably true for like all TV personalities, he's just willing to get closer to the people he's dealing with. Where like Dr. Phil, right? He needs teams of people to sort through the particularities of the madness of the people he's going to engage with so that he can have a safe, cozy environment to have minimal engagement with them. Sam Hyde is like, I want to deal with these crazy people one-on-one. I want to be right in their faces. And he's really good at like brutalizing people and making them like it. He's really good at just making people comfortable or okay with the level he's making fun of them, to the point that even though Fish Tank is like watching it's like literally traumatizing to the people in it. Like everybody in it has been traumatized by it, and most of them still have praised the experience, still like want to go back. You know, like Sylvia, probably one of the coolest people who had been like a Fish Tank member. She's like, yeah, I still have nightmares about it, but you know, I wouldn't trade the experience. It's just so fascinating and weird and such a thing to exist, such a bizarre art piece. It's hard not to be entertained and enthralled by it, however wrong you know it is. But you know, whole Josie, who won season 1, has like a whole streaming career out of it. I assume she came back for season 2. I assume she'll be in All Stars as well. You know, they're bringing back all the heavy hitters from seasons 1 and 2. Which is great because, you know, there's kind of, each season is kind of a filtration process of like who is entertaining enough to keep working with long term, you know? And so I definitely think it is the intent of the team that like anybody who is successful or catches any notoriety through Fish Tank, they're trying to really hold on to those people, you know? Like they don't want people going off and being like, oh, Fish Tank sucked and, you know, it didn't do anything for me. It's like, no, this is supposed to be a career builder for lol cows. So this actually ties in pretty well to what I was saying about lol cows and regular cows and people. I don't think lol cows video I make by saying this, but quote Kendrick Lamar, as I get older, I realize life is about perspective. It's about how you look at the way you're living, right? So when I was the most successful, the most popular that I ever was, I was miserable. Right now, I'm really happy. And most of that comes down to mindset, the way I'm looking at what I'm doing, the way I feel about what I'm doing, the way I feel about myself. You know, like the physicality of my life is so not different. It's actually shocking. It's amazing how much my life is not different from when I was the most successful and had the most money. It's also weird how I'm doing the same things and having more fun just by like doing it outside or, you know, doing it with better people. Like it's astonishing how much the same exact thing can feel different when you look at it in a different light. And when it comes to lolcows, there are clearly some who are doing it on purpose to the degree, like Boogie or DSP. And I would say they weren't always doing it on purpose, and they might not still be always doing it on purpose. Like they're not pretending to be an idiot. They are idiots. But they are willing to let you think they're an idiot and give them money. Stuttering John, another great example. That's somebody who the whole WATP podcast has created this massive universe. Like there's tons of podcasts that talk about Stuttering John. He is this huge lolcow. There's like an industry around making fun of Stuttering John. Now Stuttering John doesn't make a lot of money off of this. Probably makes very little money, but he's making just enough money to keep himself drunk, which is all he wants, and to keep fucking with people on the internet. Like I think he's just having a good time. Like he can't think of anything he'd rather do than get attention, and he doesn't care if it's negative or positive attention. He cares that he's not making as much money as he could be, and I don't think he understands how to make like deals with people successfully, how to like participate in ways that will make him money, because he has too much pride tied up in it. He's not close enough to fully accepting it the way Boogie is, where Boogie can make those, Boogie can work with Keemstar knowing he's going on a podcast called the Lolcow Podcast. Like he's going there to be a lolcow. If you're willing to do that, if that's not something that triggers your shame and makes you feel like, oh, it's not worth it, how can you say those people are living like a worse life? And it's all a matter of personal values. Some people I've thought a lot about. There's this comic artist named Ed Piskor who killed himself recently, and it was because he was DMing a 17-year-old girl, an artist, that he was like giving her advice, kind of being a little flirty. Maybe you could see it as grooming or buttering up a young artist that he was hoping to fuck later, whatever. Point being that people revealed this, shamed him very openly, and he killed himself about it. And he wrote a long-ass letter where he was like, you did this to me. I cannot take this. So I have to die. And he named like 12 names of people who really exacerbated the conflict. And of course, none of those people feels bad about this at all or cares. So like his point was more to address, I think, culture, to say, hey, anybody reading this, I'm basically martyring myself to let you know that these people really suck. And this culture really sucks. How many people really picked up on this message? I don't know. Not very many. I don't think it had much of an impact if he was really going for it. I think it wasn't really about having an impact though. What he says in his letter is, I could not go back to my small town where everybody knows me and have them think that I am a sexual predator. I just can't handle that. He's like, I know that I know I'm at fault. I can't like defend my actions, but I can't deal with being, seen that way en masse in my community. Now, maybe I don't really feel like sympathy for it. I'm like, well, if you can't be that person, don't be that person. Like if the person you are can't come to light and you survive it, don't be the person you are. But like, he was that person. He couldn't handle the consequences. He killed himself, right? So I look at that and I think, how much to blame are the people who bullied him? Because obviously they don't care about the crime. They don't care about whatever he did. They just cared about the clicks. They cared about like, person with name recognition did bad thing. Let's make content about it so we can get clicks. Who cares who cares how severe the consequences are for the person? Does the punishment fit the crime? I mean, he punished himself. So I guess the punishment rose to the level of his guilt over the crime. But it does make you think, like, I don't know. this is a cudgel we've got here. You know, this whole cancel culture thing. Like, it is to erase people. If you don't want them, the point of this is to erase them. Kendrick Lamar said, I think people like Drake should die. I think him and Weinstein should get fucked up in a cell for the rest of their lives, you know? And I agree, because I don't think that there's any saving a Drake or a Weinstein. I think it's built into the way that they are. And they wouldn't want to change. That's the other thing. Like, it's not that these are people who... maybe Drake will come out in a big redemption arc and become a devout Christian and fucking let people surveil him at all times to make sure he's not diddling kids, but I doubt it, you know. I doubt these people feel remorse for the way that they've been. So, you know, it seems risky to even allow them to go on, you know. Perry Farrell said, some people should die, that's just unconscious knowledge. I think about that quote a lot too. But who decides who gets to live, who dies? Well, ultimately the public, in a legal sense, you know. We literally will just be like, this person doesn't get to exist anymore. We voted, the law says, you know, we voted on this law and we voted that this is a breach of it, so you go. Is that a healthy thing? Is that a negative? I don't think so. I do think some people have to die, because they're just going to be a problem for everybody else. It's not to say that it's not, you know, authoritarian or evil to kill them, but some evils are necessary. That is what a necessary evil is. Killing a guy who's going to kill 10 guys, you know, trolley problem shit or whatever. All right. Somebody super chat me a rant request. I need something to talk about. I'm standing at a major crossroads in the woods. So you see the path I'm on continues that way and then wraps around over there, or it continues this way and also wraps around over there, or cuts back the way I came. But there was somebody walking from that direction, which is why I came this way. And then there's also 2 different paths to go back. You're out of money, no problem, Lapusha. You shouldn't hold yourself accountable for the rest of these deadbeats. You have already given more than 99.999% of all people who've ever watched my content. You have already given me more than that. So you're in like the highest possible echelon of contribution to my existence as a human. You're in like literally the top 0.01%, maybe lower, maybe 0.001% of people who have ever contributed to my existence. Because I know you've given a number of super chats this week. So you're up there, like way soaring. People who have only ever watched my content and never donated, they can't even fathom the realm of contribution you've made. It's like, it's staggeringly, what's the word I'm looking for, where you have like the little number above the number, you know, to the power of. All right, Roger Ramos with $5 says, rant about your top 3 lolcows that are interesting to watch. Personally, I like Boss Man Jack. He's pretty crazy. I don't know Boss Man Jack. I've never heard of him. Vito Giswaldi from the Biggest Problem in the Universe. You know, he's a comedian, he's a friend, but I'm usually laughing at him more than with him for his head-ass takes on everything. And his inability to lose weight. Vito is the type of guy who would walk into a cinema cafe in 2024 and ask for everything everywhere all at once. You know, like he's a hungry man. And I'm not, I mean, he could eat 4 or 5 of those if I'm talking about the, you know, frozen meals. It's just lately people have been doing a lot to lift Vito up, and I'm like, y'all are gonna break your arms. Like, you really can't try to lift up something that large like that, you know? People are like, oh, he can't pick himself up. He doesn't have the strength. I'm like, none of you has the strength. Because he just keeps getting bigger, you know? And when such a huge target starts rising to the top, how could you possibly not take aim? Who else do I got here? Lolcows. I like making fun of Boogie. I've never really watched his content. Well, so there's two different categories, right? There's like lolcows that are funny to me, and then there's lolcows where I'm like, I fucking actually hate that person, you know? Like, Boogie is a lolcow in the sense that he's such a piece of shit. But my reaction isn't like to laugh. It's usually like, you know? Is more of an cow, a cringe cow, you know? And I'm not as into cringe comedy as a lot of people are. I like it, but it's not necessarily my go-to, you know? But I do like being angry. So I'm not always necessarily looking for lulz. Sometimes I'm just looking to be angry. I think Vito is a similar type of person, which is why I think he and I can go head to head, because he's just looking for people to fight all day. He doesn't want to fight his friends, but he tries to have every edgy opinion possible. So what friend could he possibly avoid fighting? You know? Like, you have to pick a group to not offend. It was a really funny lolcow. Like, Chris Chan was funny until it got gross. And now it's kind of like, oh man, I don't even want to laugh at that. I don't want to encourage this person at all, you know. Newt Wallen is a good lolcow he's underrated. Not enough people know about him. If you never heard about the whole Cinemassacre plagiarism scandal from a few years ago, so, you know, Cinemassacre, James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd, he has a team of people who help write and edit his videos. And every year they do Schlocktober, where he reviews a bunch of horror movies. And it's kind of just an obligation that's like something they have to do. So, you know, they had the B team just churn out a bunch of scripts. And one of those B team, Newt Wallen, literally just copy-paste plagiarized like a bunch of old reviews of these movies, thinking nobody would notice, I guess. People immediately noticed because Cinemassacre has like really bad trolls that hound them constantly. So immediately he starts trying to play personal damage control by blaming everybody else openly in the air. And this whole scandal happened days before Too Many Games, which is the convention that Cinemassacre throws every year. So Newt, I saw this with my own eyes, is going around talking to random people that work for the convention, telling them his version of the story and why he's not in the wrong, that everyone who knows anything about the story is like, well, you're getting fired tonight, you know? And that happened. He got fired. You know, they tried to help him get therapy and stuff afterwards, but he tried to act cool about it at first, but once he was a distance away and, you know, everybody had kind of stopped talking to him, he started throwing shots back at his camp. You know, he's no longer cool with Tony from Hack the Movies, who is my friend from that camp. My guy that I know, who, I don't think he's technically employed by Cinemassacre anymore, but, you know, he's from that area, friends with those people, and he was friends with Newt, and Newt was like a regular guest on Hack the Movies until all this shit happened. And now he's a lolcow, even to Tony. So there are people, I don't remember the name of the account, there's at least one YouTube channel that's just like dedicated to clips of Newt But things I know about him on a personal level, he definitely deserves it. He's somebody who was, you know, dating underage girls when he was well into his 20s. Just a real creep. So, yeah, he deserves it. And he is funny to me because he's a bad reviewer. So you know how much I love making fun of bad reviews. So like, he's somebody who I can like throw on one of his movie reviews and just start getting angry, you know, at the dumb shit he's saying. And the content's just horribly made. So there's that. It's like DSP level of like, you shot this in. There's so much broken glass. I found myself back to the place where I found all the broken glass yesterday. Oh God, I'm trying to avoid it by walking on this wood. Just look at all this shit. How did they break this much glass? Like, it feels like it would take effort to, like, deliberate, consistent effort to break this much glass. I don't know if you could see all that, but broken glass is the fun zone. Broken glass is the I'm worried about my raggedy ass shoes getting full of glass zone. I need new shoes, y'all. I can't keep doing this shit where I walk around on glass with my fucking 3-year-old falling apart Hokas, and I am broke. I cannot afford to buy food today. I have no money. All the money I make in these super chats is not going to come to me until next month. The way YouTube payouts work is you get, like, I'll get all of my money that I made in May on the 21st of June, and then all the money from June on the 21st of July, and so on. So on the 21st, I'll get last month's pay. That was before I started streaming, so I'm still gonna be pretty broke up until next month. But, you know, I definitely can't afford a new pair of Hokas. Look at these fucking shoes. You cannot see them. Hold on, I'll turn the camera around. Look. You can't see shit because of the lighting. You see how my shoes are all full of holes and fucked up and shitty? So, how's the ad revenue? I typically make like $100 a month in ad revenue. Maybe 150 if like one of my old videos gets a lot of views for some reason. But I don't make a lot in ad revenue. At the very, very peak of my popularity, like the best months I've ever had, I made like $2,000 in ad rev, which at those points in my career, I was making like $5,000 on Patreon, you know? So the ad revenue was very much secondary income. But I didn't do a ton of live streaming, so I never got like a lot of super chat money or anything like that. There were periods where I streamed more than other periods, but I only really started getting comfortable live streaming all the time more recently. So, you know, I would say that historically, Patreon has always been my biggest source of income, but right now, I am making substantially more through the super chats. So keep them coming. And right now, we're at hour 4 minutes. I've made $13. YouTube's gonna take like a third of that, so we'll say I made $9.50 or something like that. $9.50 an hour. That's a little more than minimum wage in Virginia. So far on this stream, I'm making a little bit more than minimum wage. So if I went and got an entry-level job right now, I'd probably be making about the same. But we've done better than that most days, honestly. That is not, this has been a slow super chat day. Maybe The Truth About Cows was a bad title. I was nervous about doing The Truth About Cows because I didn't know if anybody would care about The Truth About Cows. People really liked the gender war one. That title got a lot of attention. Kendrick's war on pedophiles. Maybe war is the key. Maybe I just gotta keep having war in the name. I'll just be the war stream. Fucking Andy Warski, it's the Andy War stream. Fucking Andy Warski, it's the Andy War stream. The war about cows, war on lolcows. War on lolcows would have definitely got some attention. That's not really... I've become a drama channel. God, I hope so. I've been trying my whole career to be a drama channel. Nobody wants drama with me because they don't think they can win. Everyone's afraid. First they were afraid because they thought I was smarter than them. Then they got convinced I was dumb. And now they're afraid because I'm too trans. Nobody wants to go to war with a smart trans girl. I mean, I don't blame them. Who would want to in a war with a veteran? You? Like, come on. I have always been a drama queen. It is true. I like drama. Don't we all like drama? I don't understand people who don't. Like, how do you get any entertainment out of anything if you don't like drama? What do you... I guess I could understand if your life is constant drama, that you would probably want peace from your, like, you know, I imagine that Iyashikei is really appealing to people who, like, have stressful jobs. Even for me, actually, when Bird and I were doing a really stressful job last year, I was the most receptive to Iyashikei I think I've ever been. Like, we would sit down after a hard day's work and put on, like, Skip and Loafer, and I'd be like, you know, like, oh, I don't care about anything, you know? So I get it on that level. But I think if your job isn't stressful, if your life isn't naturally stressful, you gotta have something to get stressed about, you know? You gotta have something to keep your blood going. Fictional drama is just allegory, which is basically just a pussy version of real drama. Like, seriously. Fiction is boring. Can I just finally say this? Fiction is boring. What fictional story? Do you know how many people it would take to create a fiction that could be anywhere close to as compelling as reality? Like, and they can't work together. Like, creative people suck at creating things together. It's very rare that a team gets put together that does some really good shit. Just so incredibly rare. How often have you ever seen, you know, something truly magnificent where a team really came together and made something that you're like, wow, reality could never be that interesting? No. How many times have I gone and, like, seen a movie and I was like, oh, that was a pretty good movie, and then I come home and I, like, read Twitter and it's immediately more interesting. Like, I could see a meme that is, like, what it suggests about the world says more to me than the fucking movie. Arcane is fine. I remember what the characters looked like at the animation. I can remember some of the fight scenes and some of the music, you know. The plot was about disparaged people fighting a corrupt government, I think. Who gives a fuck? Nowhere near as interesting as reality. Fiction is better than life precisely because so much more effort is put into compared to when things just happen. No, not at all. It takes way more effort to make things happen than it does to write about things that you are imagine happening. Like, okay, oh, big dragon comes swooping in from over there. Papoosh lands. Da, 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 da. Oh my god, there's 4 people standing here in a row. One of them is wearing armor, one's wearing a cloak, and he's got a staff, and one of them's a hot elf girl with a bow and arrow. She's your waifu. You're already in love with her, I can tell. And they've got a goofy slime monster. All right, all 4 of them are fighting the big dragon, and the dragon, as they're fighting, it goes, oh, I haven't even begun my final form, and turns out it's actually a hot chick, and she says, subversion, you thought I was the demon lord, but I'm a hot chick, what are you gonna do about it? And the hero, he's like, well, I'm immediately in love. The other guy's like, no, you can't be in love with that, you gotta kill that, that's the bad guy, she's trying to trick you, dog, this is illusion magic. And he's like, fuck you, titty is God. And he runs over and he grabs her boob and she says, now we're husband and wife. There, that's a story. Stupid. That's every story. Tell me another story, I dare you. Oh, guy makes a lot of money, loses the money, gains heart, comes out better person, and gets a little bit of money in the end. What do you know? Didn't lose it all. Story. Ugh. This is my new bit. I'm just fully anti-fiction now. You're losing me. I'd want to see the hot elf. Look, she's still over there. Just your waifu's right over there. She got jealous that the hero grabbed the boobs and said, you should be grabbing my boobs too. And he said, don't worry, there's enough for everybody. And she's like, no, but I want it to just be my boobs. You can't grab both of our boobs. And he's like, uh-oh, this is gonna be a 50 episode love triangle conflict. Fiction. You should write an isekai and sell it for $1 trillion. I already wrote an isekai, and nobody has offered $1 trillion for it. But go read Kusomega right here on the channel. Go to the Essential Videos playlist. You'll find Volume 1, Volume 2, and the preview of Volume 3. Ooh. I'm a writer, to quote Maddox. Gary always said you're invested. Well, just imagine different reasons that the two girls would get naked over and over again until one of them gets a mysterious disease and the other one has to sacrifice herself to cure the mysterious disease, subverting your expectation of who is going to be final girl. And there you go. That's the end. Oh yeah, this is a Buc-ee's shirt. Well, tank top, I guess. Buc-ee's, the super gas station from Texas. Big fan. I like to Buck. God damn it, I ended up in Glass Paradise again. How do I keep getting back here? Try to make sure I don't come to this part of the woods. I swear there's a tiny piece of glass kicking around in my sock. I can feel it. How do I get to a cooler part of the woods? This part sucks, it's full of glass and trash. I need super chat, so I have something to hear. Roger Ramos with $5. Rant about money, cost of living, being smart with money. Thank you. Oh man. I'm not really the person to ask about being smart with money. Don't spend it. That's probably the key, right? I don't think you can be smart with money and life at the same time, unless you are really some kind of superhuman. Like, I don't know, it's funny how many facets of life all of us have to engage with, but most of us don't understand and never will, and kind of shut our brains off when we try. You know, I could be upset with myself for not being better with my money, but that's not going to make me better with my money. You know, I'd have to make a concerted effort to do that, and I don't know how to do that in a way that wouldn't be unsatisfying in other factors other than something like this, you know, to make more money doing things I like. But when it comes to handling money correctly, I'm not a person to ask about it. Cost of living, man, cost of living has fucked me up a lot because it has increased so much in my adult life. Like, so when I was a kid, you know, my parents both grew up poor. My dad joined the Navy, so when my parents got together, my dad was the only one working. He was, you know, in the Navy while my mom was taking care of me and my younger brother. You know, we were born within a year and a half of each other. So, you know, they were just living in like army barracks or whatever. We didn't really have like money and shit. But whatever money my dad got, he would spend. So like, I didn't even really understand how poor we were because my dad would just he would, particularly if it was stuff that his kids wanted, he would spoil us. You know, but he also wasn't around to spoil us that much because he was usually working. So, you know, after my dad was in the military, my parents both had manager jobs, and they were living in what they described as white trash apartments. And my dad asked, you know, said something to the effect of like, oh, I'm tired of living in this white trash place. And the landlady said, well, you got to stop making a white trash income. He went, oh, ha, 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 ha. So then my dad became a car salesman and eventually started making a lot more money. And he started, you know, he got, each house he got was more than he probably should have. And he kept buying things to fill those houses more than he probably should have. And spending a lot more on having fun while also spending all that money on the houses that he probably shouldn't have. And somehow survived all of this and made good on it eventually, where he just kept succeeding at the job and making more money, you know, and basically like trying to cover up the losses by just gaining more. But it wasn't until he like switched careers, left that job behind, really made his whole family, you know, feel what it's like to be poor for a little while, and then, you know, went back to doing the car business and reached a level even higher than ever before, eventually paid off all of his debts, became a successful person who can basically do whatever he wants. He makes enough money to do exactly what he wants to do. He has a house, he has some real expensive bikes, you know, a car, can take care of my mom and my granddad, neither of whom can work at this point. So, you know, I look at that, I think, wow, you can handle your money really badly and pick yourself up from it. But it's also amazing how much more, like, I would say, I wouldn't be surprised if I've spent a similar amount of money as some of those times where my dad was being reckless and just bought way less. Like, come out of spending more money with less to own. And I think one part of it is, like, the more that society asks us to have things, like to have high-speed computers, to be able to play the newest video games, you know, to be always updating your shit. You have like an ever-increasing amount of technology. If you're somebody who does like makeup, there's always new types of makeup coming out to try to invite you into it. Like, just whatever world you're in, there's always innovation happening to take your dollar in that world, and there's always new worlds opening up. So it's like, I think there are more things, I think people are spreading their money more thin than ever before, which is part of the problem. But also all of that shit just keeps getting more expensive, you know? And like, there's a few times, there's some things that are actually cool, right? Like this GorillaPod, this thing I'm using, this is not actually, this is an on-brand, ONN, the shit you buy at Walmart, $20 knockoff GorillaPod. When GorillaPod came out, it was like a unique idea that immediately caught on and became like standard for vloggers. So of course, imitations sprung up that were cheaper. GorillaPod wasn't even particularly expensive in the first place, but like the cheap knockoff stuff really sucked. But eventually, they figured out that they could do that stuff cheaply enough and well enough to undercut even the price of, you know, GorillaPod, to where like this thing I'm using right now is exactly as functional as the $30 version of the GorillaPod, you know, the big 160. This is the same thing as the $30 version for $10 cheaper, made by an off-brand that just improved quality to be competitive. That's like capitalism functioning correctly, you know? But like, you know, if I was convincing myself that because a new drone came out, I had to have the new drone, it's like that would just be another like expense on top of everything else. So I think that a lot of stuff keeps getting more expensive and becoming impossible to attain, and then other stuff is becoming cheaper and becoming easier to attain. And the difficulty millennials have is in like deciding what is valuable to us. You know, like I have a lot of collectibles. I grew up with them because you had to buy manga to read manga. You had to buy DVDs to watch anime. You had to, you know, you had to to own these things to engage with them. And now that I'm in a place where I can easily find free content all the time, it feels like stupendously worthless to purchase those kinds of things, you know? But there's all kinds of other stuff that's now available to me to purchase that wasn't before. Unique beer, you know, me and Bird go to breweries all the time, and like, we couldn't have really watched this evolution happen in our lifetimes because we're too young, but like, breweries being all over the place is fairly new. Most of them are not more than 30 years old. You know, like craft brewing as a sensation, as like a major part of US culture, is pretty nascent. So like, you know, it's, I guess that's why, even though like I make less money than I did before, and things are more expensive than they were before, I don't feel like things have all around net gotten worse, because it is on balance where it's like, I couldn't have afforded to record myself 10 years ago. Like I couldn't have done this at all 3 years ago. You know, like there wasn't the technology to do vertical live streaming from my iPhone as I wander around the park, you know, like, so it's like having less is better than it used to be. And I think that comfort allows those with more to keep taking from those of us that have, oh, you're comfortable with less? Well, we'll just take that extra you've got, you know? And I think people aren't protective enough of the extra. They're not protective enough of their little bit of extra income that they could be putting away, or that they could be putting into something that increases in value. Like, I don't even think saving money is necessarily a good idea. I think investing wisely is the smartest use of money. Like, buying something you know will appreciate in value. Like government I-bonds, you know? If you put your extra income into buying I-bonds, the government would have to dissolve, essentially, for you to not make a profit off of that money. So like, that's the only way I know of to spend money that like you're guaranteed using it in a way that doesn't disappear the money. But like, obviously using money to have good experiences is like the reason to have it. So I don't consider saving money to be necessarily a goal over, you know, spending. Spending money is the goal, not saving it. Gotta have money for the sake of spending it, not for the sake of having it. Alright, I need more money. Ranting about money has given me a money thirst. I can't even afford to buy a beverage right now. I mean, I could, but I shouldn't. You know what I have? I don't have much food in the house, but I do have a massive, massive case of cider. Massive amount of cider tall boys, which were purchased live on stream just this past weekend. You guys are talking about completely other shit that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. What the fuck are you talking about in here? Why is prenup and contracts and I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. Get onto one little rant and totally lose the topic of what everyone's talking about in the chat. No booze, the worst of fate. No, there's booze, it's cider. The cider is booze. Got a ton of booze. Got only booze. We got some gin. We got cider and gin. And a couple beers. A couple IPAs. We got some cider, some gin, and some IPAs. and some eggs and some sausage. And yogurt. There is some yogurt. That's what I'm working with. No, we're gonna go grocery shopping today, but I do seriously have more alcohol than food at the moment. But haven't I ranted about most things? I don't think I've ranted about most things I haven't ranted about the grass. I haven't ranted about the trees. I haven't ranted about whatever the fuck that thing over there is. I haven't ranted about how a little bit yesterday ranted about how this kind of looks like burial mounds, and I'm worried about it. You know, I haven't ranted about the sky or the sun. I haven't ranted about dreams. I haven't ranted about tennis. I haven't ranted about bears, man, bear, pig. I haven't ranted about any current political topics or social topics or anything that's happening on Twitter or on YouTube. I haven't ranted about any people, you know, dead or alive. I could go on. I need something to rant about. You know, as I've demonstrated just now, I have too many options. I can't just reach into that miasma of random shit and decide that something is worth your time. You have to decide that something is worth your time by proving it with money. You gotta be like, not only is time money, but, you know, I'm willing to spend money to spend time on you. Saying this to me right now. I think that made sense. Gary is still thinking about the elf and the dragon waifu that I made up in 3 seconds earlier. I literally forgot about that already. I completely forgot any of that had happened. We out here. Seem to be between 3 baseball courts. Fields? Baseball, 3 baseball fields. I think fiction is so worthless, yet people who make movies are the highest paid people in the world. Stories are what we thrive on. No business people are the highest paid people in the world. What are you talking about? Define people who make movies. Most of them make jack shit. Necomancer with $2. Thank you very much. Thoughts on YouTubers making it big, like Dunkey, etc. I'm assuming you're talking about like with the game thing he just released, right? Because like picking Dunkey as a specific example of a YouTuber just like getting big, and he's been big for a long time. But I think you must mean like outside of YouTube or through other avenues. Like there's a lot of YouTubers, and have been for a long time, YouTubers who've like, you know, they've gotten to a level of having real money, being able to reinvest, and kind of looking at, you know, what could I promote, what could I make happen, and I think most of them come at it with too much ego, like they're trying to make something about themselves, or like prove themselves or prove their brand. And Dunkey made the very wise choice of thinking, I'm going to think about what would my audience want more than anything else in the entire world. They would want what I consider to be the greatest video game imaginable. And so he went out and found the greatest video game imaginable that nobody else had already decided to publish, and said, I'll publish this game. And since he knows that A, it's the greatest game imaginable, and B, it's the only game he has to worry about promoting, he basically got to use the full leverage of his platform in promoting it. He got to just full-throated say, you know, I'm paying this guy to make this game, and the game's amazing, and you're gonna love it. And it's just true. You know, like, it's such a good business decision from Dunkey that it's not something that could be easily replicated, and I don't think it's supposed to be. Like, I don't think he did this for the sake of now becoming this big publishing house that's gonna take on all these games or whatever. No. The point of this was, I'm gonna make sure that if somebody's making the greatest imaginable game, it's going to get the greatest imaginable push, you know, it's just the right person aligning with the right product. I don't think you could ask for a better, you know, YouTuber publishing arrangement. So yeah, good job, Dunkey. Animal Well is also dope as fuck. I played it on stream last week, something like that. I haven't played it again since because I have not found the fucking cord for my controller, and I really don't want to have to keep playing it on a keyboard. Are you a gay? Yes. I am part of the LGBT. You could say I am all of them. And plus. And who are you, gay? The one and only Nicole. There's like a lot of Nicoles. It's an odd username. Does Bruno Mars is gay? I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. I think most people who do any kind of artistic thing at all are gay. I think most art either comes from a place of I don't understand why I don't fit in, or I totally fit in, guys. You know, like, it's always like, everybody got to accept me for who I am, or like, I am not who I am. That's the two types of art. His announcement of the publishing brand was full of ego, though. Well, I think it had to be in the start because, you know, you got to get people pumped up for the thing you're doing. But I think he could only be that confident because he knew that the product, when it came out, was just gonna knock people's fucking hats off. Like, once a great game is out in everybody's hands, what can you say then? You know, like, I don't think any of it would have been possible if he didn't just know that Animal Well was there. You know. Necromancer with $2. Where to publish self-made comics? Webtoons is meh. So here's my real ass answer. YouTube. What I would do is, I mean, honestly, the answer is everywhere. The answer is publish it fucking everywhere. Saturate reality with your content. The number one problem most people have as content creators is nowhere near enough self-promotion. Nowhere near enough self-promotion. Here's something that nobody has complained about or called me out for since I started doing it. For maybe 6 months now, every single time I tweet anything promotional, I retweet it practically every hour all day for like several days. Like, I'll upload a video and then I'll retweet it like 30 minutes later and then 2 hours later, and like generally it ends up hitting different people, or they don't care because they're just like, oh, whatever, I saw this. They're not even thinking about why is it back in their feed, you know, like they don't care. Your brain just skips over it. But like, people get so in their head, oh, I already posted this earlier, people are gonna be, I can't just post the same thing. Post it all fucking day. Never stop posting it. If somebody complains, quote tweet them and make them look like a pedophile. Like, just literally be ruthless about promoting yourself, you know, like don't ever let up on that if you want to succeed. So where do I publish my comic? Publish it on fucking Twitter, page by page in a thread, publish it on Instagram, publish it on fucking Tapastic, publish it on Manga Potato, send it to MangaFire, send it to illegal fucking websites that upload comics, create a motion, or you know, not like a full-on motion comic, but just like find a way to panel by panel make it a video, audiobook the fucking thing, pay people to talk about it, you know, whatever it takes. Literally shove your fucking comic down people's throats. It's the only way. Yeah. That's gonna be a highlight, I think. That's gonna be a stream highlight. How do I promote my comic? You know, forcefully. Got saying forcefully like that, got that Linkin Park song stuck in my head. There's a forcefully the power of suggestion, then with the eyes shut, looking through the rusted vinyl dust, the small spot of light floods the floor and pours over the rusted world to pretend, and the eyes ease open and it's dark again. From the top to the bottom, but on the top I stop. You know what I'm talking about. At the core I've forgotten, in the middle of my thoughts, taken far from my safety, the picture's there, the memory won't escape me. Why should I care? In the memory you'll find me, eyes burning out, no darkness holding me tightly, until the sun rises on. Moving all around. Have I seen Bocchi the Rock? Yes, actually, if you go sign up for my Patreon, you can get access to a 5-hour podcast in which Bird, my husband, and I, there's Bird, comma, my husband, not Bird and, you know, Bird is my husband. Bird and I reviewed Bocchi the Rock for a bonus episode on Patreon. Patreon.com/GoldenWitchFire. This was like a year ago, thereabouts. Yeah, I think $5. I think it's $5 to get to that tier. I'm not sure. I might have even reduced it. Don't remember. But yeah, you can get the Bocchi the Rock bonus episode there. Bocchi. What did I rate Bocchi? Like, I want to say an 8 out of 10 or something like that. Strong 7, light 8. I don't know. Ratings don't fucking matter. I have a whole video in my set about how I am hoping ratings are going to die soon. Because me telling you my rating of that show means nothing, because no rating I've ever said do I hold to. Like, if you're comparing it to something else I gave a 9, like, I probably wouldn't give that a 9, you know, like, if you asked me. So just knowing my rating won't help you in any way, shape, or form. It's probably different. €5 from Tumor Tuner. Do you like Star versus the Forces of Evil? It is based. I never ended up checking out very much of that show. I tried it. I heard good things about it. I think there's a trans character in it at some point, if I'm not mistaken. I really liked the character design. And at the time the show came out, I was like, all right, you know, cute little magical girl cartoon, like, this should be up my alley, but I think it was just like a little too, like, childish for me, too high energy. Maybe it was the voice acting, maybe it was just the personality. I remember Star being like really hyperactive and me just kind of finding that obnoxious. I don't know, it was a little, just a teeny bit too children's cartoon for me. And you know, I was already like in my mid-20s by the time that show came out, so which, you know, I was like 20 or 21 when I got into My Little Pony, so it's not like it's not like I was not, going to get into any kids shows. But My Little Pony was unique to me in that the world building was so interesting. That like it creates this whole fantasy world with all these rules and different RPG style races and stuff like that. And there was just like more to sink your teeth into. And then there was also the fandom where like if the Brony fandom didn't exist, I wouldn't have cared about the show at all. I would have like watched it maybe and then just been like, that was cute, and never talked about it again. But it was the fact that people were so into it that made me study it. With Star, like in the Brony community in particular, like once people started growing out of it or like just losing interest, wanting to move on to the next thing, like a lot of people turned to other American cartoons because that was obviously the biggest audience, the most natural springboard. Now for me, I had come to MLP from anime. I'd already been an otaku for like 10 years. I switched over to MLP, got popular doing that content, and then switched back to anime and eventually got popular doing that. But it was like, a deliberate shift. Hello. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like I was trying to find something new to latch onto after. But it was like I was just going back to the thing I do naturally and then got people on board with that. Whereas, like, a lot of the Bronies, that was their first real community. That was the first thing they had ever participated in. So they're like, where do we go from here? And so I saw a lot of people who would talk about shows like Steven Universe, Star Versus, Gravity Falls. These were all like the stuff that blew up right in that post-adventure time, like cartoons are for big kids too kind of era. But most of that did not really resonate with me. I just kind of went back to anime because most anime is like adult, I went straight from My Little Pony era into my cyberpunk era where it was all, anime with cyberpunk themes. For anybody who wasn't around for all this, like I literally went right from My Little Pony into covering like Serial Experiments Lane, Armitage the Third, Ghost in the Shell, Psycho-Pass, and then I did Log Horizon and Sword Art Online as like kind of slant cyberpunk. And then when my SAO video started blowing up was kind of when I opened up and just was talking about more anime than just cyberpunk shit. I was really deep in an era there for a minute in 2014. Then I had I should have taught, like, a regret I have about my career is because of the fact that when I talk about projects, I tend to get too much gratification, and so I'm less likely to finish them. I don't, but it also means it's difficult to hype people up about something I'm working on. So, like, I think back to, for instance, when I was doing the big NanoHub project, and, like, I just kind of silently watched NanoHub for a month and then started putting out videos, and, like, they got very few views. And I just imagine now, like, if I were going to do that idea, I would be like on stream every day talking about what happened in each episode of NanoHub, like the whole way, I'd have 50 fucking NanoHub videos if I was gonna actually talk about that whole franchise. Just one of those things you think about further down the line. Every time I did a big project, it should have been smaller scope for me, smaller workload, larger content load. Mally Magnum with Canadian $5. Thank you very much. What you and Bird plans for the next 10 years? I suggest hard invest and save and apply for extended travel visas in low-cost countries. That could be fun. We probably will spend some time in other countries, going around the world when we have that kind of, like, money and ability. But I like the United States. Like, again, as much as I'm complaining about the way money is right now, like I think the main takeaway I hope from that whole rant was like, in spite of everything, I think things are better for me now. Maybe not for everybody than they have been. Like, I have less money, but I don't need as much money to do fun things because there's funner things that are more available to me at a cheaper cost. So, like, you know, ideally, I would like to make more, put some away, and be able to afford some of the nice things in life that make you feel safe. Or just fix my teeth. I've been seeing a lot of lizards running out in front of me on this part of the path. There's a big old lizard, big old chunky lizard. It's probably another one. But yeah, like, investing, saving now, it's a problem of like literally having money to invest, you know, or to save. Basically whenever we have no money, we tend to live a very austere, boring lifestyle until we have some money. Then we do some really fun shit that costs all of our money, and then we go back to a really boring, austere lifestyle. I don't really know how you end that cycle other than to continue the boring, austere cycle for longer and spend less on the fun stuff. You know, I don't really know how you make the balance work better. I know spending smarter and making smart, just being smarter with the money will extend the money out. We already have extended it out pretty far. Like, you know, the first couple trips I took across country, I was staying in hotels the whole time because I just didn't conceive of the fact that there's like cheap campgrounds everywhere in America, like literally everywhere. You know, like I just didn't know that that was an option. I thought like, oh yeah, if you're traveling, you have to account for hotel costs no matter what. So if you're gonna see a whole lot of the country, it's gonna cost you hundreds of dollars. So I spent, you know, hundreds of dollars on hotels on these early trips. And then, you know, Bird taught me about camping. And once we started doing that, it's like, well, fuck, this opens you up. Not only is this more fun than being in a hotel in the first place, you know, provided the weather works out, but you can see more interesting places. You can travel way more because you can afford way more. It's just like, you know, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that I could see traveling around the world once we've stopped having fun in the US, or just to take little trips, but I can't see like moving permanently to like a cheap country. I'm not gonna learn another fucking language, you know, like I'm not gonna learn how to speak Taiwanese or whatever to hang out in some, you know, other country I don't know. I'm certainly not going to live in a third world country because I would not feel safe. And, you know, a lot of the world doesn't even like LGBT people, so that would be a concern for a lot of travel, especially to, you know, cheaper, less developed nations. Yeah, I really like the U.S. I mean, look at what I'm dealing with right now. I'm in a beautiful day in a beautiful park, like, you know, making money talking to a fucking phone. As far as I'm concerned, this is basically the American dream. Move to Ireland like Keffels? What the hell would I do in Ireland? I don't know anything about Ireland. I'm sure it's pretty. I know they like to drink. That's it. That's all I know about Ireland. It's a pretty place where people drink. It's cold. Probably too cold for me. Most places are too cold for me. Isn't Ireland stupid expensive? I literally have no idea. With the United States, there's also the factor of like what the cost of living is changes dramatically depending on where you are. Like California, you might as well just double everything. You know, like double your cost of living of what it would be to live almost anywhere else. unless you're in like a major city. I guess New York. Like New York, most of California is expensive. New York, it's just New York City and like the surrounding of New York City. You know, Boston, Massachusetts in general is really expensive. You know, if you live in a dense city, Seattle, these places are expensive to live. But everywhere else, it's like, it's still on the rise. It's more about like the quality of what you can get for the price. It's like stuff that used to be cheap is now expensive because they've built shittier stuff that's cheaper. So like, you know, it's like the same house that you would have paid $900 for 5 years ago, you're paying $1,300 for now a month. And you know, it's, if you're trying to pay $900, you're living in like the shittiest imaginable apartment, you know, that used to be $600. And you know, there's been no adjustment in how much money anybody's making to accommodate for this. I want to move to New York, but I literally don't trust these 1.8K a month apartments, 1-star reviews. I would never move to New York. I have no idea why you want to go there, but I would never, ever move to New York. I don't even want to go to New York City, honestly. It's so expensive to even step foot into New York. Like, you cannot, I would say this about Boston too. It's a little more insidious because Boston is boring and you wouldn't expect the problems you're gonna have there. But like, if you drive into New York, you're guaranteed paying like upwards of $50 for parking a day, no matter where you're parking your car. Even if you own a place, even if you're like in an apartment, you have to pay separately for your car's parking. So you're already paying a shitload for parking, assuming you have a car. If you don't have a car, you're paying bus fare, and you're walking around, and you know, you're walking around a place that is considered not dangerous, but it's disgusting at the very least. You know, you're taking the subway full of piss. You know, the cost of living is preposterously high, and the population density is ridiculous. There's literally people everywhere. I can't even think of a reason to want to step foot in New York City. To me, it is just a hellhole. I've driven through it a few times, and it was a nightmare. One of those times I was driving a U-Haul, that sucked. Yeah, no, and also, 5.5 months out of the year, the whole fucking state is buried in snow. It's freezing fucking cold. It's windy as fuck. The roaches are like super mutated there. The rats are super mutated there. Yeah, no, New York City, not my bag. Not my bag. I prefer a nice forested park in the middle of Northside Norfolk, which is supposedly a way more dangerous city than New York City. Our crime rate is much worse. But I haven't gotten shot in the woods yet, so I think I'm doing all right. Super chat me a rant request. I'll go off. I'll go crazy. I'll go ballistic. I'll go bananas. I'll go dunk. I'll go dumb ham. I'll go donkey. I'll go destructive. I'll go deliberate, delightful, delicious, lovely. I'll go Dora the Explorer. I'll go I'll go Dismal Swamp, like an abysmal clump. Do I like Florida? I lived in Pensacola for a little bit, and that sucked because it rained constantly all summer. Otherwise, though, I went to Ybor, which is nearby to Tampa, in the winter. That was awesome. That was to see the first, I think it was the first WATP Dick Show crossover live. I think it was just the Dick Show live, but Carl was there actually. Whatever the case, the live show I saw in Tampa, like, it was cold and miserable in the middle of December, like in Virginia, and I was just like, I remember I was like really deep in a mind hole and not having a good time, literally until we stepped out of the car to the Airbnb that we were staying at in Ybor. It was like a really nice place that our friends had, picked up, and I was just like, like, life is good. What the fuck? Like, the weather was like this, like, less windy version of what I'm experiencing right now in like mid-December, and I was like, this is I understand the appeal of a summer home in Florida immediately. All right, we got a super chat from Mally Magnum for Canadian $5. IDK rant about STDs in the gay community for Tumor Tuner. Nate got his channel back too. Rant about that. Oh, I didn't know that. Congratulations to Nate. Squirrel in front of me. Check that guy out. He's celebrating. That's good. I was really wondering like what was going on there, because it's I've had my channel lost, he's had his channel lost, a lot of people had their channel lost. It doesn't usually take that long to get it back, and then you do. Although I guess it took a long time when he lost it the first time. So, but and I forgot that it did take a while. I don't know if it took this long though, so congrats to him. As for STDs in the gay community, I mean, I'm pretty sure the government created AIDS to destabilize gay power. There you go. That's all I got. I don't know. I don't have any STDs. I'm in the gay community, so I feel like I don't have much to say on the matter. His ideas with $3. Yap on cool shit you've seen when traveling the US. God, I've seen so much cool shit. I would highly recommend that you subscribe to the Picnic Adventure YouTube channel. I am probably going to end up, if I make any more content for that, just uploading it here also so that more people will see it. Picnic Adventure is the channel where any footage I have of Bird and I on our adventures, I cut it into videos that just show off, you know, each individual cool thing. Right now, I am also putting together a movie. So, basically about last fall, because we did so much shit last fall that it would be hard to like organize it into a bunch of smaller videos. I would rather make it into like one semi-cohesive film. So look forward to Picnic Adventure, the first movie, USA My Backyard, coming soon. But some of my favorite things I've seen in the US, you know, we've put a lot of focus on national and state parks. Loud ass fucking motorcycle. My favorite national park might still be Bryce Canyon. You can find the videos of that on the Picnic Adventure channel. It's where the hoodoos are, which are like just these crazy rock spires. And when you're at Bryce Canyon, you're basically at the highest point of elevation, looking down into a canyon that's full of all these unique rock formations. And then beyond that canyon, you can also see past the plateau, like, because you are on a high up plateau looking down into a canyon that cuts into that plateau, but it doesn't cut nearly as far down as how far down it is below the plateau, which is just like you're still on the edge of it. Like the canyon's cutting into the edge of it. Does this make sense? I don't know if this makes sense. It's hard to describe. If you watch my videos, you can kind of see me explain it. But like just the amount you can see, the amount of distance and of rock formations. Similarly, these are both in Utah. There's a place called Canyonlands, and Bird and I only got to drive through it for like 2 hours. We were just like passing through on our way to the next thing, and just, you know, we're like, oh, we got some time, let's check out Canyonlands. We'd never really heard of it. it is the craziest looking, like, tapestry of land you will ever see. Because the only way I can interpret it is an empty seabed. Like, it is just what the bottom of the ocean would look like if the ocean wasn't there anymore. But, like, from where you're standing above, like, trenches and just all this, you know, just all these crazy formations, all these wild canyons created by, I guess, just how many different types of rock exist in that area and the different ways that they break down. But yeah, Canyonlands is like a series of canyons. It's like you're just going to another canyon. Everyone is totally different. Each one's just a new, weird, crazy rock formation. So yeah, I really like the unique geography. I think a lot of this is probably because, if you can't tell from the video, where I live is flat. Just totally flat. I actually think that Hampton Roads, the area I live in, might be like the flattest part of the United States. Like, I'm probably at elevation 10 feet maybe, you know, right now. And it doesn't start picking up until you go like an hour west, when the Appalachian Mountains start. And having driven all over the country, there's only a few places that are like super, super flat. And most of them, it doesn't go on for nearly as long. You can see some kind of like mountain in the distance or something, you know, like here. If you mowed down all the trees, it would just be a field that went as far as your eyes are capable of going, you know. It's just, it's very flat. So to me, when I start seeing, you know, epic mountains and crazy canyons and valleys and just like the whole wild topography of the US, that's what really blows my fucking mind. Stuff like when you are descending from the Rocky Mountain Plateau and you just have this sensation of continual descent for like an hour or two, you know, like it just sinks in like, wow, I was so far, like the whole world of Colorado is just significantly above the rest of everything around it, you know. It's like driving through Colorado is essentially just a massive ascent into the clouds, or descent out of the clouds. Alicia Ribeiro says, wash your teeth with what? I am in the park. My finger? What do you want me to do? Do I spawn a toothbrush out of midair? I'm not that type of witch. My teeth are beyond fixing. There is no, it would take an amount of medical procedure to repair my teeth. And as we've established on this live stream, I don't have money for that. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. You either have to put up with the teeth or you gotta get the fuck out of here. Because I can't do anything about it. You could pay me, then I could get closer to considering spending money on my teeth. But definitely not gonna listen to the opinions of people who can't even afford to pay for my dental. Couldn't possibly. Magical girl Trixie doesn't have access to hammer space. No, I'm a witch. I'm a magical witch. Not a magical girl. I have to use spells to conjure things. I only know so many spells. I don't know the manifest toothbrush spell, obviously. $100 of the super chats missed. Where? Oh shit, there are some super chats. Let me go back. There's not $100, but when did these come in? Sometimes I feel like I just don't be seeing shit. Mally Magnum with Canadian $2 says, does Bird like 230-pound black dudes who do BJJ? Are you referring to a specific person? No. I don't think he knows a single 230-pound bald black dude who does BJJ. At the very least, if he does, I've never met them. Bird's also just not into dudes. Tumor Tuner with $2 or €2. Rant about bug chasing and your favorite spirits. Are you talking about bug chasing as in bug chasing like going for STDs like on purpose? I don't understand that shit at all. That's wild to me. I don't really understand almost any fetishes though, so that's not surprising that I don't understand that. I don't think you're supposed to. I think that's what makes them fetishes, is that other people are like, whatever, dude. And as for my favorite spirits, I assume you were talking about, you know, shots. Bird and I are both gin people for the most. Like, Bird is really into gin. He almost always gets gin. Gin is probably my favorite, so I don't have a complaint, but I don't drink a lot of spirits. I love beer. I will drink beer any day, all day. I drink very slow. That's the only reason I'm not fat. Like, I just can't fit enough liquid in my body, as you can tell from me having to piss all the fucking time on stream. Like, I cannot fit enough beer inside of me to get fat. But I will drink a lot of beer, a lot of cider, a lot of mead. I like wine. So because I like all those things that are much more mild to drink, and I'm not trying to get fucked up most of the time. I'm relatively a lightweight. It doesn't take that much to get me drunk. It takes a lot to get me high. It takes a lot of weed to get me high. It doesn't take me that much alcohol to get me drunk. So, you know, I'll abstain from the spirits most of the time because I'm not trying to throw up. But gin might be I mean, they're all kind of like equally okay if they're good, you know, like any of them can be done well, any of them can be done like trash. When I used to get a lot more spirits, because I know I drank a lot more in the past, and it was usually I would get vodka or gin to use as a mixer with like pink lemonade. Pink lemonade's my favorite mixer. So, you know, the fact that those two both go well with pink lemonade made them favorites of mine for a long time. I don't like dark mixed drinks like Jack and Coke. Gross to me. Jaeger bombs are gross. I don't really like scotch or whiskey or any of those. Bourbon. They're all like, you know, again, if it's a really nice one, then you can appreciate the flavor, but it's just not my thing. I could not drink scotch every day, you know. Whereas I did drink gin or vodka every day for a while when I was mixing it with, you know, mixing it with pink lemonade. Adamaro7 with £5 says, any thoughts on the big growth of VTubers in the West, and would I ever consider it? Oh boy, would I. So I think VTubers are really cool. I love the idea. I have never found one that I would follow. I think I struggle with having that intimate of like a parasocial relationship without it just being me. You know, like, I'm not good at giving all my attention to somebody else and not just being the center of attention, or at least having a feeling like we're having an actual conversation. Which obviously, you know, I could accomplish that by super chatting them, but what virtual idol would I love so much that I would like spend money on them? I don't know. I don't really spend money on people other than my partner, so it's hard for me to even put myself into the mindset. I've never. Now, my favorite thing to come out of VTubers is Beef PC. If you've never seen it, just look up on YouTube. Just open up a new tab. Open up Beef PC. If you get distracted from my stream and you don't make it back here because you laughed too hard at Beef PC, I don't blame you. I do not blame you. Beef PC is special. If you don't know Beef PC, you are really in for something. Like, you gotta batten down your hatches, get yourself ready. Go watch Beef PC. The person who made that animation, what's it called? I can't remember the name. Can't remember the name of the animator, but they've also got a Ikum Bokum clip with with that one dog girl VTuber. Just really good animations. So I considered it when VTubers first started blowing up. If you go listen to, I think the only time I really talked about VTubers was on a podcast called AniTubers Most Wanted, which was me, Econ, and Nino. And this was when VTubers were first blowing up, and Econ was like all in on VTubers. So he was like basically spent the whole weekend trying to educate me and get me into the VTubers that he liked that time. So, and my takeaway was mostly like, well, I don't know, like this is like, to me, feels creepy. It just feels like I'm leering at like a young girl. Like I'm just like, I'm way too in a young girl's life, you know? I can't create the mental disconnect where I don't think of that as just the person playing the avatar. You know, like it doesn't register as a character to me. It's like, no, I hear the voice. Like, I hear that you are a person putting on a voice. So, like, I just regard you as the person, you know? I might think of you as the avatar, like, in my mind's eye, but, like, I'm not thinking that that person is separate from whoever you are in real life. So it feels weird to me to be, like, that engaged with what is usually just, like, a young girl giggling in her room, you know? It's like, okay, well, that's not my speed. But, yeah, like, I considered being a VTuber, and obviously there's VTubers of all different types. It's not just like young girls giggling or whatever. That's just most of what's popular. And you know, maybe there's a VTuber I would super love if I found out that they were like doing some shit that I'd be really into. But it's been a few years since I really investigated any of this, and back right before I spent all of my money, when I was in the process of spending all of my money back in like 2020, some of that I spent on rigging or commissioning a YouTuber design. So, you know, Vito, who I was making fun of earlier on the stream, he has he hasn't used this maybe more than twice ever, but he had a VTuber built called Vito-chan that he did like a couple of live streams with. And so I got the guy who designed that, Daniel Dussault on Twitter, to design me a Trixie puppet. And it looks great, but you would have to also then pay somebody else to rig that puppet, and I didn't have the money to do that, or really understand how it works. And I think it's possible to do on your own. Like, I've downloaded programs that you're supposed to be able to do it with, but I have not tried to learn them, because the thought of like learning a thing, you know, learning a thing, can't somebody just do this for me? You know, if I was a cute girl with a cute voice, I'm sure somebody would have already paid for this for me. But yeah, so I have a Trixie puppet, which is not rigged. So, you know, when I was first transitioning, I was very insecure about being on camera, because I was like, I don't know how I want to present myself, you know, like, it was difficult for me to, like, if I just changed everything about the way I looked and acted, but was, you know, trying to appeal to the same audience, that would be weird. But if I didn't change anything about the way I looked and acted, then I wouldn't be communicating my journey at all. So, like, what I wish I had done, if I had had the forethought of Philosophy Tube, where she just, like, pre-recorded like a year's worth of videos and then debuted as, like, a year into transition that she was trans. Brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. Would not work for me and the way I do my career, but brilliant. But yeah, like, now I'm comfortable to be on camera, so I don't feel like I need the Flash puppet, you know. But D's with $5. What if we paid for someone to rig the puppet? I mean, we could do that. I'm sure I could find. If you wanna help to organize making that real, you get in my DMs on Twitter, or you know, in Golden Witch Fire email. We can talk about it. But I don't know who is we that you're talking about. Are you asking me to like crowdfund making a rigged doll? I mean, frankly, I need the money right now, and I would rather it not be spent on that. Like, if you have the money to build a Trixie rig, I'll just take the money. Because I don't think it would make me more, I don't know that it would make me more money to be a VTuber. It might be different if I was only talking about anime. Like if I was trying to do live streams on the We Watch Anime channel that were anime themed live streams, I would probably want that. And I've thought about it, because one of the people who I look to as a content inspiration is Finn McKenty. He does a show called the Punk Rock MBA. His show is all about music, you know, alternative rock music, particularly punk and metal from the early 2000s. And, you know, he live streams all the time on Twitch, and he has found every which conceivable way to go back over the same information about the same bands and albums and parts of music history, whether it be like, you know, tier lists or just like general discussion videos that have topics. Like, he can find a way to turn the same essential elements into fucking hundreds of videos that are all kind of the same. But if you like these subject matters and you just want to keep hearing about them, you've got an infinite amount of it to listen to, you know? So if I wanted to do that for anime, I think being a VTuber would be a good idea. But Finn McKenty doesn't really seem to like doing that. Like, he does it because it's effective and he's trying to run a business and make as much money as he can before he switches gears one day. But it's pretty clear that he's just trying to like exhaust that until he's bored of it and then move on to something else. So like, I don't want to put myself in a position to get exhausted with anime. You know, the We Watch Anime channel, the only reason that I promised a video every week for a year is because I wrote them all already. I wrote them all at the start of the year. So like, there's no worry of, oh, what if I get burned out on writing anime content 6 months in, and then, no, I already wrote them all, you know? It's just a matter of getting them all edited and produced and released. So, you know, so to me, that's less of like a, oh, this is all I do, and more of like a, well, you know, I've got anime content for the people who like that, and then I also do live streams that are just me hanging out, having a nice time. Why don't I use the puppet and not talk about anime? Because I don't think it would be as appealing. I just don't think it would, I don't think it would, because like, okay, so if I'm using the puppet, what am I doing? I'm sitting at a computer talking to the camera. So if I'm doing like I am right now and all I'm doing is talking at the camera, the puppet is not going to be as exciting as I am, because it can't demonstrate the same range of emotions, it can't move or gesticulate, it can't explore an environment, it can't react to things, it can't be in front of things to react to. I have to go onto the internet to like find things to look at, to have something to react, or play a video game, you know, like I have to have something to engage with for the puppet to be visually interesting. So that means I have to have something to talk about at the computer. And I just don't think that's as interesting as this, you know? It sounds like the puppet would be like putting a hat on a hat. Huh. I don't really know what you mean by that, but I guess so. I wouldn't be going outside as much, rip vitamin D. Yeah, my bones are fucked up enough. Like, I really need the vitamin D. I fucking 6 months ago or so, like, partially broke this arm, and it's mostly healed now, but still not all the way. Like, doing these vlogs, still I can feel like a little bit the bone, like pain in the bone from holding the thing all the time. And then just like this past weekend, I dropped a heavy wooden lid onto my other arm in like almost the exact same place. I don't think it's like at all broken, but it definitely got like chipped or something. I can still feel it, you know. I've got some kind of smaller injury on my wrist. I cut my thumb on a can the other day, crushing a can. That was bloody. You know, that's not a bone related thing, but just another injury I've got. But yeah, my bones are weak. Gary always with $2. Can I get an album recommendation and also Libelu? Album recommendation. If you haven't heard Since I Left You by the Avalanches, that's a really good one. Pretty accessible to most people. So yeah, that one. If you have heard it, I guess say so and I'll give you a different one. Want some weird hip-hop, listen to Quaranta by Danny Brown. It's his latest album. About being 40 and still rapping. If you need Bev money, I left a 20 pack in the broken glass spot. That's funny. Unless you mean that you actually gave a $20 donation while I was over there and I missed it, in which case, sorry. But I think you're just telling me to go back to the glass because you're pretending there's money. Just oh, so you already know, Avalanche, but you don't know the album Since I Left You, or you do know? Since I left you, I've been around so on every day. That album has Frontier Psychiatrist on it, which is one of my personal theme songs. One of my always songs. Frontier Psychiatrist. Psychosomatic. Purely psychosomatic. Lie down on the couch. What does that mean? You're a nut. You're crazy as a coconut. What does that mean? That boy needs therapy. Monica Zoom, let's have a two. And when I count three, that boy needs therapy. He was white as a sheet. And he also made false teeth. Oh. Can you think of anything that talks other than a person? A bird? Yeah. I don't know if you could hear the birds. If you only really know Frontier Psychiatrist, also listen to their other album, Wildflowers. Because that one's got Frankie Sinatra also having Danny Brown. And that's also a legendary track. Unless you also already know that one. And that's the only song you know from that album. In which case, oops. Oh boy, I'm starting to get a little worn out. It's been about 2 hours, 20 minutes. I'm in the woods. I'm gonna take a pee again. Let y'all look at some trees and shit. And we back, and we back, and we back. I have not seen any of Helk. I've had the manga recommended to me quite heavily. I've heard the anime is not as good. So I would probably check out the manga first. Alright, if anybody's got anything they want me to rant about, send in the supers. I'll rant about it. Otherwise, I'm probably going to wrap up the stream pretty soon. I'm starting to get tired and, like, physically. And I want to go eat. Manga Monday. I mean, I would probably talk about Helk on Manga Monday if I read the manga. It's like Bobobo invaded the Demon World tournament from Yu Yu Hakusho. Huh. Well, that sounds interesting. I forgot this was the Truth About Cows stream. I forgot that's where we started this. I reinstalled Elden Ring, but I still don't know where the cord for my controller is. So I might stream some Elden Ring if I find the cord for my controller. Listen to my new song by Daybreak, by the way. Put it out yesterday. And you should listen to it. Wake up early and I slept. 3 rappers by Daybreak. Today is a payday, not a play date. Let me make my meaning opaque. I rake money, oh honey, I skate. It's a good song. Maybe my best song. But that's up for you to decide. What else is going on? I've spent a lot of time just watching people talking about Drake and Kendrick still. Nothing really new has happened enough for me to talk about it again. It's more like people have been filling in every little detail, you know? So I've watched a lot of content just to have the fullest grasp on everything as I can. But nothing to report back from that front yet. What pushed me away from the Digibro title? Gender transition. It's hard to be Digibro when you identify as a woman. So, pretty much just that. A mistake of tying your branding to a gender that you don't feel totally attached to. Rap about the most autistic thing on your mind right now. Alright. Yo, I'm seeing ants all over the ground. They can't even make a sound. They ran out into the sound. No land. Water all around. Let me film some of these ants. I'm rapping about. Where'd he go? There you are. Hey ant, where you gonna go? Hey ant, what do you know? Hey ant, rolling all around. Hey ant, living in my town. This ant ain't got a frown. This ant's really going down. This ant's got it going on. This ant ain't got a front. This ant really know what's up. This ant driving a truck. This ant not really driving a truck. That would suck for an ant. It would be hard as fuck. Alright, that's all I got. I hope that counts as a wrap. There's a lot of those big ass ants around. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Speaking of Gambino, I don't know if any of y'all heard the new version of Atavista. You know, he put out this album that was unfinished like 4 years ago, and I remember thinking at the time that it sounded unfinished, and he finished it. Now it's called Atavista, and it's pretty good. It has a couple spots that I'm like, I don't know if I'd listen to this too many times, but overall it's a very interesting album. A lot of variety. Atavista, Atavista. I like that song. There's a few really good ones on there. We will fix wolves, Gambino. That's funny. I'm thinking probably either they didn't finish the album right away or he's been sitting on it for a while. It's an interesting time to drop. I don't know if he was always planning to drop when he did, or if like he dropped it in the shadow of the Kendrick and Drake beef just to kind of like, you know, be like, hey, this seems like a good time, you know, all eyes are on hip hop. It's not me making like a diss or a new album that's gonna seem out of place. It's just a re-release of an old thing, but at least people will pay some attention to it because like people are paying attention to the genre. I mean, it's not even really a hip-hop album, but like you know, his name has been around more recently. You know, people were talking about the 5-year anniversary of This Is America or whatever, 6 years. Having a dream about getting a public indecency charge is an underrated experience. I wouldn't know. My dreams are all nightmares about abandonment, pretty much. That's most of my dreams. You're curious what the reasoning is behind releasing something you're surely to know to be unfinished or subpar. Well, they talked about it a bit, is that you know, aside from like the fact that there's deadlines and stuff where like, there's only so long you can spend on a project before it has to start making money and has to stop costing money. But apparently it was mostly that Gambino's dad was going through health concerns at the time and he just like could not continue working on the album. So they just, and this was also at the start of COVID. So it was like, just the world was too overwhelming to be doing this project, and I guess it was probably close enough to finish that they just went like, fuck it, we got to get it out there. Maybe he thought he was just done with it. Like, maybe he thought he emotionally was not going to be able to get back to that place. And then eventually did, circled back and went, actually, these songs are good. I don't want people to forget about this, like, just because it was unfinished type thing. Do you find that when you dream, any remembered dreams are horrific and any outright forgotten otherwise? I wouldn't know. I mean, if I have dreams I forgot, how would I know? I've had a couple of dreams. I've had good dreams. I've had some times where my dreams were pretty good or just okay or pleasant. They're just very rare. But usually, yeah, my dreams are not, they're usually emotionally distressed and not fun. I also just don't like being in a dream, like, waking up and realizing that, like, you just did a bunch of shit that doesn't matter, basically, or went through all that for no... I usually hope, like, I wake up and I'm like, well, I hope, brain, I hope you really sorted through whatever you were going through there, Do I delay sleeping because of this? No, I'm not. I don't dream that often, either. Sometimes it'll like pick up. I don't know if it's just connected to like if like more exciting stuff is happening in my life, or what. It's kind of random. Like sometimes I will just have bursts of like a few days where I have dreams, and then usually not. Alright, well, I haven't seen any super chats come in for a while. I think maybe we've dried out chat. I think maybe I'll have to come back later in the day when fresh faces are awake. It's been nice talking to you. This has been fun. But I can't do it for free. Especially not when I'm hungry. So I gotta wrap it up. I dated a guy who every night would dream he was in a city of his own design and his dreams were all one linear story. That's neat. Yeah, some people have... I guess everybody's dreams are like their own particular type of thing. Mine all do involve like cities sometimes. Like usually I'm lost or trying to find someone or catch up to somebody in like a mall or a city or a convention or like a big hotel or a giant mansion. And I just keep finding new passageways but never finding my way to wherever I'm trying to go, and I have a lot of dreams like that, and I have for a long time. Other than that, they usually involve interpersonal drama and sexual trauma. And those are the dreams I really hate. The dreams where I wake up and I'm like, oh, none of that was pleasant. That's the ones I really hate. So, the ones where I'm just like lost in a mall, like, they're usually stressful. Also, there's a lot of the time I move, like, as the dream goes on, as I start to become more aware that like something is wrong, physics break and I like stop moving, like I lose momentum. It's like I'll be maybe taking a step, but every step I take, it takes me forever to reach the ground because I keep losing momentum. And and then like I'll like have to tap and just like get a little bit of air, but then I'm losing momentum again, and it's like every step is agonizing. That happens a lot in my dreams. Yeah, it's like Gojo Satoru using its powers on me when I'm asleep. Alright, that's it. Goodbye. Thanks for coming.